As promised, joining us at our jam session table is co-host of BET's Man Cave and on-air personality for Apple Music Beats, one of Chicago's very own, Cosign.
Yeah. How's it feel to be home, my friend?
Feels like home. I'm excited. Yeah. Feel good.
Did you get that deep dish pizza yesterday?
I haven't yet. I'm
gonna get on you.
Well, you brought the warmth, bro.
Yeah, I put it in my suitcase before I got out of here. I heard about the weather issues. I said, I'm not gonna do the hometown like that. I'm not. I'm gonna get you guys right.
There we go. All right, so you're a local guy. So you have to tell me what it's like to have been a graduate from Columbia College, but more interesting about this is you become a professor of beat. Can you tell me what that means?
Okay, so when I graduated from Columbia College, I was 23. And I had different music contracts on the table, and the head of my department was like, don't feel pressured to sign anything. If you want, you could teach a class here. And I was like, excuse me, sir? And he was like, no, feel free. And I was like, what class? And he said, make it up. So I made up a class called hip hop beat making. And
what you do?
Yeah, it's what I do. You can see a real creative name there. And I taught another class called Producing Recorded Music 3.
I think I want to take it.
You should.
Yeah.
You should.
Well, a lot of people who are sitting here recognize you from the show Man Cave on BET. And for those who haven't, take a listen and take a look. They have a lot of fun.
So, gentlemen, let's start this thing off with a little bit of, oh, hell no.
Oh, hell no. Yeah.
See, these are the stories that you think there's no way this could be true, but it is.
But it is.
Now that is Tank. Everybody knows him as the R&B hit maker.
Yes.
A lot of different voices, a lot of different feels on there. It looks like you guys have a good time.
Oh, we have a blast. I cannot believe that's my real job, to sit around the bros, the OGs, and just talk about life and be authentic and, you know, have a little light sippy sip. It's a great time.
Yeah, we're not sipping on camera right now, unfortunately, but Whitney has her own show. You share a show with a couple people, so I think you guys are more than ready to jump in here for a jam session.
Let's get in.
I'm ready.
Let's get in it. Let's
Yeah,
get in
let's
it.
do it.
Okay, so we're going to
Excited.
start with some real star power, Mariah Carey, who recently sat down for an interview with People magazine in which she revealed that she's suffering from bipolar disorder. She told the magazine, quote, "Until recently, I lived in denial and isolation and in constant fear someone would expose me. It was too heavy a burden to carry, and I simply couldn't do that anymore. I sought and received treatment. I put positive people around me, and I got back to doing what I love, writing songs, making music." Were you guys surprised about this? She was diagnosed in 2001.
Well, it kind of makes sense based on the track record that we've seen over the years. This is kind of like connecting the dots, I think, and I'm championing her for coming out. Mental health is one of those issues that must be talked about just as much as our physical health.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, as a Chicagoan who has now lived in Los Angeles for like the last 10 years, the Hollywood sauce is real. You know, the pressure is real to deliver it, to live up to expectations. And, you know, I'm excited for her to just have that off her chest and to be, you know, honest about what she's going through and getting help. And I just have nothing but love and support for the legend, the queen, Miss Mariah Carey.
Yeah, and you know, as you look back in hindsight, it's easy to kind of now say, oh, a lot of that now makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think she was a butt of a lot of jokes, unfortunately, and people made light of why she with Nick Cannon or this meltdown or this diva moment. And you see all these things happen with her, and you're like, man, this woman just really feeling herself, and she's so erratic. Well, now there's actually something that's being diagnosed, which explains a lot of what's going on in her life.
Well, and mental illness has a lot of stigma around it that people don't understand. And so it's one of those things that to come out and say I have this now must be so freeing, but it's also very scary at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's great that clearly what was cool to me about this, and if cool is probably the wrong use of words, but that she felt comfortable enough right now in her life to say, hey, I've held on to this for 17 years, and I've been going through the ups and downs of that Hollywood dealing with the sauce.
Of course.
Now I feel confident enough to come out and say, hey, look, I can be a beacon of hope for people. I'm Mariah Carey. This happens to me. So all you out there, especially youngsters who are dealing with something like this and haven't been diagnosed properly, go out there and figure this thing out.
Absolutely.
So a recent article in BuzzFeed features people who have chosen to live life off the grid. That means no TV, no cell phone, no internet, and a lot of other no's. Could you do it, and what would you miss the most?
I could absolutely do it. I could do it
You're in that Hollywood scene. You're dealing with celebrities like Nicki Minaj, Justin Bieber, John Legend.
Yes.
You can drop all that.
Get him out of here.
It's a nice thought.
Get him out of here, because I will tap into my zen.
Are you being serious right now? Because I can't take it. I don't know if you're like being for real.
No,
or...
So I gotta let you in on
serious.
this. We're sitting there in a meeting this morning talking about it. And Whitney, what was your response? What would you miss the most?
Oh my goodness, I would miss not having my cell phone to take my pictures and videos of my little twins. I mean, I can pop those right on YouTube. My mom had that big clunky camera and was like lifting weights every time she filmed us. And so for me, I just get to pop it right out. And so I can't imagine life without it.
That's the most first world problem, though. Of like everything. Like that's like, if that's what you're worried about, I'd be worried about how am I going to eat? Where's going to be the microwave?
Yeah,
how am I going to shower? Yeah, like those are things you don't have either.
Absolutely.
See, I've noticed, like, when I go on vacation, when I go out of the country, whenever I tap out of the matrix and I'm able to just hear from the Most High and just get into it, I'm just a better person. I feel better. You know what I mean? So
I thought it was interesting you talked about that Hollywood sauce in the last segment. We were talking about Mariah Carey, and that kind of has to probably play a part in why some people just shut down and go, I'm done with this life. I'm done with the hamster wheel, right?
For sure. It's crazy. A few years ago, I came home to Chicago because I was basically ran out of LA. Like, it just all went crazy. I didn't win this Grammy Award with Nicki. I was depressed, and I came and sat on my aunt's couch. And I got my love cup filled all the way up with a bunch of family and with a bunch of childhood friends. And I was just brand new all over again.
See, I can take some Zen time for about 5 minutes with my little love cup. Yeah, that's like it. My love cup is full then. It floweth over.
Some other twins right there. That's how that works. You know, I guess for me, what's a modern day way you could do this? Like, you can't go off the grid. You're a mother. You can't do that. Right. You're responsible for a show and a lot of people and other artists you work with. What's a modern day way that you can say, okay, I can't go off the grid, but what can I do? Is it meditation?
It's the morning. It's the morning. When you wake up, the alarm clock goes off, you hit the phone, you don't look at text, you don't look at email, you don't look at anything. You get up, this is my morning routine actually. Get up, soak the system with some water. Get the water going, I go outside in my backyard and I just listen. I just listen for as long as I can. And then I go back to my phone and tap into the day.
I like that. Something tells me, though, you were here at about 5:45. Yes. You didn't do that this morning.
Not this morning.
Yeah, and then you live in LA because it's warm. When you say step outside, I'm like, not in February.
I woke up and a couple expletives, and then he was here. All right, so giving kids the freedom to do things alone, like explore a playground, ride a bike to school. It makes them apparently healthier, happier, and more resilient. We're talking about kids as young as 9 years old. So I'm a parent of a 10-year-old son, and this idea terrifies me. Let's start with a mother at the table right here. How do you feel about this?
Well, I was reading what all goes into it, and that's the confusing part. Like, where's the line is what I wanted to know. Yes, when I lived in small town Oklahoma, riding bikes in my neighborhood alone was fine, I thought, at 7. But for my Chicagoans, no. My twins, 7 years old, will not be riding bikes alone. Mama will be getting a 2-seater and pedaling for them, or a 3-seater. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not buying it.
Co-sign? You co-signing this one?
I don't think I can co-sign this. I have an 8-year-old son. That's Coach Dose.
Okay.
Coach Dose.
That's Coach
Now
Dose.
that is clever.
Yes, shout out to Coach Dose. And yeah, man, you know, he's a little maniac. Love him to death, great kid, but we got to keep eyeballs on him, on the little
I think
dragon.
this is great. 7 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old. So the woman.
20 months.
20 months,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, nice.
So,
Congrats.
Yeah, my eyes are like, boom.
yeah, so,
I see you.
So here you go. You got 10 years ago, the woman who championed this whole movement of free-range parenting had a 9-year-old son who she allowed to ride the subway home from school alone. 9-year-old child.
Oh, she doesn't care about him.
Like, that's got to be negligent
One might
parenting.
think
That's
that.
not free-range
if you want to.
parenting.
Yeah, you know, I lived in New York for a little bit. I was even scared to ride by myself.
Like that's, but here's one that's more new age now. How about a Maryland couple who's in a lot of hot water right now for allowing their 10-year-old and their 6-year-old to walk a mile home from the park together?
Oh, wow.
Would you allow that one?
It depends the size of
10
the
years
town,
old,
I
taking
think.
care of the 6-year-old.
Because small towns, we look out for each other.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, and I think about growing up, you know, my mom, she worked a lot of hours, and I had to walk home from school and let myself in and stay in the house and not make too much noise and stuff. So sometimes when you're overwhelmed as a parent, kids got to get out there early and figure it out. So
yeah, we got to talking about this. Is the world more dangerous now, or has it always been this dangerous? There's just more vehicles to be fed the information that it's dangerous, like social media, like reading these stories on Facebook or the 24-hour news cycle. Is it more dangerous now, or are we just able to gather that it's more dangerous now?
I think we see it more. Yeah, I think you're right with that. But I think it's always been there too. I mean, you know, there's always been bad in the world. There's always good in the world. So that's, you know, you have to weigh it out. But I think bigger cities got to kind of be more careful.
Because there is a balance. You want your child to be independent, but you also don't want that to lose that child to negligence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, I mean, as a parent, you got to think about where you're at. Where you at? What's your area like? You know, I knew that. For me, going home, we were in a cool area, good old Broadview, Illinois. Take 9th Street straight down, stay on the busy street, stay on Roosevelt. Yeah. You know, and so it was cool. You know, it's cool.
Here's what I'd say maybe. Okay, if you want to do the free-range parenting, cheat a little bit with how you do it. Maybe let them walk home, that 10-year-old, that 6-year-old from the park, but you be laying up in the car, watching, and they don't know.
Binoculars to the
So
side.
they're safe, but they don't know that they're safe. That way you're covering all bases.
I love it.
In the
I'm
bushes.
in.
In the bushes.
Well, Cosign, thank you so much for joining us, man. You're making Chicago proud with everything you're doing out
appreciate
west,
that.
making the hits. You got a hit show, and we really appreciate you taking the time here to join us.
Man, I'm
today.
honored. I'm honored and I'm humbled. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. Just a reminder, everybody, BET's Man Cave is on Thursdays, 9 p.m. Central.